Well, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to everybody out there who has a birthday this year. Happy birthday to, well, look at this, the birthday girl. Happy birthday, birthday girl.
Thank you.
Friends, lovers, thank you for joining us. This is 5 Minutes with Robert and birthday girl Amy Nasir. And you know who you are on this fine April 7th, 2024. April 7th. Man, the year is coming along. This is the 98th day of this, your best year yet. If it's not already your best year yet, let's make it happen. You have 268 days left to make it the best year yet. 262 days until Christmas, 207 until Halloween. And let me jump through a couple of on this dates real quick. We've got a theme. Well, obviously the theme is what? Look at the button. Amy says, birthday girl, right on her button there.
I'm just a birthday girl.
You are. That's very sweet.
I'm going through my second awkward adolescence.
It's the theme for this year's birthday. Amy chooses a theme every birthday, and this year, awkward adolescence.
Yes. I've got a sticker book coming in, actually, on Tuesday.
That would explain a lot of the very childish presents that you've received so far.
So let me know out there if you'd like to exchange any stickers with me so that you can have a sticker book, too. Maybe some friendship pins or... I
see lots of happy birthdays coming in on the chat. Thank you for that. Live chat, my favorite part. In fact, I see Jim both on the Facebook Live and the YouTube Live side. Very much appreciated because, we're working on getting those YouTube numbers up. When we get to 1,000 subscribers, all the good stuff happens and you immediately go from 1,000 to 1,000,000 because that's when YouTube starts pushing you. So feel free to like and share the show. In fact, feel duty-bound to like and share the show. But real quick, a couple of on this dates and then we'll tie them together. And then we'll just keep talking about Amy. On this date, October 7th. Well, this is a real downer, and I had to throw it in because it fits a theme we've been following. October 7th, 1994, violence erupts in Rwanda, foreshadowing the Rwandan genocide. I don't like to get too much into current events when they're not happy events, but they're part of what we're talking about and have been talking about. We support Israel. Yes, on 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir, boldly, proudly, with moral fervor and moral fire.
Even when they don't support themselves.
Even when they're not doing what we think they should be doing, which is winning this damn war. There is a way to win a war, and it's not what's being done. This date, April 7th, 1994, violence fuels the launch of what would become the worst episode of genocide since World War II. The massacre of between 500,000 and 1 million innocent civilian Tutsis and moderate Hutus. Now, the story of the Rwandan genocide, there's a link in the show notes. You can click it. You can look it up. All the information is there. My only point in bringing it up, or one of my points in bringing it up, is it ain't new. And they are right to cite the worst genocide since World War II. And yet, there are people out there who are calling what's happening in the Middle East a peaceful country defending itself against the October 7th slaughter a genocide. Do not fall for it. Do not accept it. The word genocide means something, and we have seen it in our lifetimes. Well, maybe some of you are too young. If you're under 20, but we know what genocide is. We know what it looks like. We have all the video, the news coverage, everything you need to know.
You bring up a really good point, Robert, is, not only does calling Israel's mission of self-defense against Hamas and the Palestinians who voted Hamas in a genocide, that cheapens, what happened in World War II with the actual genocide against the Jews and others, including homosexuals, including the Romani, and a bunch of other people who the Germans, who the Nazis were trying to kill off. But it cheapens, the Rwandan genocide and all the other genocides.
Yes.
I believe it was the between Serbia and Croatia.
That's right. The genocide in Yugoslavia.
Yeah.
You're right. It slaughters the concept of genocide to say that what is happening in wartime the actions of a country defending itself, genocide. So, that said, that's the only really, really, really heavy thing, other than a little bit of today's theme, that we're going to get into. And I'm going to jump right from that, right from 1994. I'm going to go back to 1970 on this date. 1970, April 7th, John Wayne, the great John Wayne. When we knew, men were men and women were women. John Wayne wins the Best Actor Oscar, the Academy Award, on this date, 1970. I love it because the movie that he won it for, True Grit, it's a very good film. I've watched it. Great fun. The author, Jim Ashley, in fact, mentioned Kim Darby earlier on the socials. And it's interesting because she plays a 14-year-old girl. Did you know she was 21 years old when she took that role? But she did a great job. She did not win the Oscar. In fact, sadly, Kim Darby has never won an Oscar. But even stranger than that, Kim Darby, by the way, was nominated by the British Film Academy for an award. So she's been nominated. Kim Darby's great, and we've had fun watching her on things like The Love Boat. We like watching old TV series. And she's cute and quirky and fun. John Wayne has been in some of the greatest movies ever. Largely entertaining. You wouldn't say, most of the films are super deep or intellectual or art house films. But he had never won an Oscar before, so some people believe that he won it for True Grit just because he was clearly getting toward the end of his career. He hadn't won yet, and Lord knows he deserved it. Now, the Academy has given lifetime awards, and I think that might have been even more appropriate. True Grit, great film, highly recommended. And, Kim Darby was very good in that, too. Very cute. If it sounds cute, weird to say a 14-year-old girl was cute, just remember she was 21 when she acted in that movie. But real quick, jump to happy birthdays. Happy birthday, William Wordsworth. If you haven't been reading poetry, look up some William Wordsworth, the poet laureate. We don't have poet laureate. Do we have anything like a poet laureate in the United States? I don't know. But the poet laureate, born in 1770 on this date, and lived to be 80. I like it when people in the old days lived to be over 70, 80 years old. So happy birthday to William Wordsworth, the English poet laureate, born in Cockermouth, Cumberland. A poet born in Cockermouth. Now, some people might hear the town Cockermouth and think that's kind of profane. In fact, we'll get to that.
I'm sure that has some sort of elegant meaning in Old English.
Yes. It's also the birthday of Billie Holiday. So I've got a link to I've Got My Love to Keep Me Warm, outstanding performances by Billie Holiday the Great. James Garner also had a birthday today. Of course, he passed away in 2014, but lived to be 86, gave us some of the most fun movies out there. And I'd like to see in the chat, I always ask for recommendations, especially in movies, films, art, music, etc. James Garner, you've told us some of the films that we should watch. I think we've talked about James Garner's birthday before. What should we watch next? I think The Great Escape is our next film to watch that James Garner was in. He wasn't the star, but he was in in The Great Escape. Incidentally, born James Scott Bumgarner. He took the bum out. I guess James Garner sounded better than James Bumgarner. 1928. He just didn't seem that old when he was doing, the Rockford Files and all the stuff that we, when we were young, knew and loved him for. But yeah, we got to watch The Great Escape. Of course, his roles as Brett Maverick, including the later remake with Mel Gibson, where James Garner did show up in the film. Great, great fun and good to remember him. National holidays today, there are two. The first one is the Day of Remembrance for the Rwanda Genocide. That is actually a holiday. Holiday sounds too festive, but yes, a day in which we remember that. The second holiday, and this is going to be it for on this date. Second holiday today, it is National Beer Day. I meant to have a Guinness in my hand, but I needed the coffee, so sorry about that. I'm curious in the chat, and I asked this because the other day we did a show. We were celebrating St. Patrick's Day and drinking Guinness. What beer do you drink? Is there anybody out there who still drinks the kind of beer that we drank when we were young, when we were kids? By kids, of course, I mean teenagers or maybe in our early 20s. Like American beer. Does anybody actually, because I see it on the shelves at the grocery store, does anybody still drink Budweiser? Does anybody still drink American beer? I mean, there are good American beers out there. Not just microbreweries, but, better American beers. I don't know. I feel like at some point, everybody should be drinking Guinness or something as good.
Yeah, there's actually a really good microbrew called By Duclaw, is what the company is. It's called Sweet Baby Jesus.
Sweet Baby Jesus.
And it's
I love quirky microbrews.
A chocolate peanut butter porter.
Peanut butter. What is it, like a Reese's cup beer?
Kind of, but I should say this. I've tried it before.
You've tried it?
Oh yeah, Sean Albert, our good friend.
Now, Sean knows more about beer than you'll ever forget.
So he brought it over one day, and it was really delicious. Now, it did not taste like peanut butter. It was more of like just a dark, like a chocolate stout kind of chocolate porter, basically.
It's good when they advertise it that way, but it's really just kind of a hint. You don't actually want peanut butter beer. So good. Apollo Zeus says Apollo Zeus is drinking Stella. That's for a light beer, meaning not a dark beer. That's a good beer. That's cool. Christopher Smith says Heineken is lovely. Yes, it is. We got that in the fridge right now. If you want one of those light beers, I don't know. I'm getting to where light beers just seem, and I know they're not light beers like low calorie, like they actually make Bud Light, which of course we masculine people champion. We think they're great because we're always on the watch out for that toxic masculinity, and they would never fall victim to that, right? Okay, I'm only serious. Don't even.
I need to go. I need to get home and crack open a beer and watch the game.
See, Christopher Smith says light beer. I'm a nerd. Well, okay, if light beer works, and hey, I know people who drink beer, and I don't mean drink beer the way I do, like a beer every now and then. I mean, I know people who they get home from work, they drink beer, and yes, if they are not going to be large and in charge, then yeah, I guess light beer might be a necessity because beer does have a certain number of. Miller Lite. What are you? You're looking up light beers?
No, I'm looking. What beer? Oh, so yeah, it's
Miller High Life.
The Miller High Life.
What was their slogan?
Champagne of beers.
The champagne of beers. Yeah. Okay, sure. The champagne of beers. I'll call myself the champagne of objectivists. No, Miller Lite. But again, I remember being a teenager, and that was normal. And, if you were going to pick up a case of beer for a party, then you didn't necessarily bring a case of Guinness.
Right.
It was a case of Bud, a case of Miller.
It was what do you call this? A keg. It was a kegger.
Bring it, yeah. You don't have a kegger of Guinness.
No.
Unless you run a bar.
Right.
Well, very, very cool. And,
Oh, I just want to thank Greg in the chat on YouTube. He liked and shared. So please like and share.
That's
We've
cool.
Got a number of people
we say it at the end of the show, and that's probably the wrong time to say it. Like and share. Click that like button. Share it on your social media networks.
If you haven't yet.
Let your friends wonder, what's wrong with this guy? He likes this stuff? No. It's share the goodness. Share the goodness with your people. People.
Share the awkward adolescence with us.
Share it. And make it awkward. Make it awkward. In fact, I'll give you a preview. My Post-it note for the day says, touch everything. Is that awkward enough? We'll get to that.
I'm not touching you. That's what you do.
So that's it. We've gone through On This Day, all of the On This Days, which ends with National Beard Day. And the reason is because we're leaving plenty of time to celebrate. Whoa, I wonder how that came through on the... I'm going to look at the levels afterward. Yeah, that's much more... The kazoo is much more reasonable. Well, that's not a great kazoo. So, we are celebrating the anniversary of Amy's birth.
Yes.
What a weekend we had.
I'm now an adolescent, so yes. Bring on the strange feelings of and insecurities.
And the bigger the celebrations, the more outrageous, the better. Last night there was karaoke.
Yeah.
The night before there were games at Doug and Buster's. Dave and Buster's, yeah. Dave and Buster's. My first time there.
Yeah, me too.
We've had one in town for a few years, and we've never been there before.
For several decades.
It's amazing how fast you can go through money there. I guess it's like the budget version of that, which would be like a Chuck E. Cheese. And you could go through quarters at a Chuck E. Cheese. I'm sure now it's not quarters. tokens, silver dollars, who knows? Maybe they're using game cards like Dave and Buster's does. But man, that was fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was very awkward. But
what was awkward? Being an adult in this place?
No.
Because it wasn't all just kids.
You have to understand is I'm a little bit afraid of video games.
Oh, is there too much anxiety playing them?
It's just too much going on, too much sensory overload.
Ah.
That's what it is. And
so
but
you remember
I
when
just,
video games were still exciting, because they still are.
Yeah.
I mean, how many of us are just used to it,
Right. Well, I'm actually very happy that, I could have gotten into video games. A lot of people, at the time did. But I just never liked them. I just, I thought there was just too much anxiety going on with it.
Well, Dave & Buster's was probably pretty rough then. They had the world's largest Pac-Man screen.
Yeah, they had several.
And they had, shoot 'em ups where you get inside. The one thing they didn't have was they had this at Chuck E. Cheese, the old Jurassic Park game. That's the one we got to find, where you actually sit in the Jeep and the Jeep like throws you around as you're going through stuff. And yeah, we got to find that one again. I wonder if people have a favorite arcade game. Oldsters like us are probably thinking, yeah, pinball.
Or Pong.
Pong. I don't know if people go back that far.
Yeah,
well, obviously, pinball goes back before Pong. But yeah, well, Pong, too, was a great home arcade. You could have the cheapest home video game machine, and it could definitely handle Pong.
Yes. Well, I got to say that I have gotten over a lot of my anxiety with regard to video games. But no, it was a really lot of fun. We tried to there was sort of like a knockoff of Dance Dance Revolution there. It did not go well.
Dance. Yeah, we got to get out the DDR game.
Yeah.
Except we haven't updated it in years, so that means we've got to get out the old the Xbox 360, and what do they call the device that watches you?
Oh, I don't know. It's just
somebody
the little
will know.
Scanner kind of thing.
We still got it, but it doesn't actually say on it what it had a name.
Yeah.
Somebody will tell us.
Anyway, it's but yeah, no, it's you use it for the Just Dance games, which I've played. Yeah. Actually, in terms of dance games, of course, I'm a gamer. But anything else,
one way in which you're a gamer. Well, you have a game you've been playing on your cell phone, so I don't know if that counts. Gamers would all say, that's not a game.
No, it's not.
I still play Scrabble on my phone, or Words with Fiends.
Yeah.
We're friends.
Right.
Yes. So, under shameless self-promotion this week, all I've got is an old episode of Life on Earth, which I think everybody should click from the description after the show and listen to. Oh, no, wait. This was republished as a Substack article. That's the link I've got. Life's what you make it. The world's what you make of it. It just goes along with some of the news this week, some of the challenges this week, some of the posts that we've done on the socials this week. Your life is what you make it. Oh, what about the world? What about the news? What about... No. The world's what you make of it. You decide what matters, what's important. If you want philosophical content besides what we're going to talk about next, that's where you go. But one other thing that happened on this very interesting weekend, this Celebrate Amy weekend, is just on a whim, we went to the movies.
Yes.
This was not part of the plan. The plan included, a taste of Ethiopia in Farmington Hills, Michigan. We had Ethiopian food.
I didn't do the hot spice. I just got the medium spice. It was just perfect.
Yeah, that was good.
It was beef in the Ethiopian type spices.
And this weird cold bread that looked like a gray sponge.
Yes, gray sponge bread. That's the technical name for it. No, it was good. It was good. The people, they were lovely.
Yes.
I had beef. Robert had chicken, and we kind of shared, and it was really lovely.
Yeah. And I expected a fancier restaurant than it was, but it's very casual. So if you're interested in Ethiopian-styled food in Southeast Michigan, Northwestern Highway, give them a shot. Taste of Ethiopia. And then a trip to the bookstore where we browsed sticker books, among other things.
Yeah, I got this, here, I'll show it. It's the Sticker Dolly Dressing on Vacation.
Too much fun. Remember, we're going back to childhood here.
Yeah, so if you remember, you've got, if you remember, like, what do you call them? The
dress-up dolls?
Dress-up dolls, yeah. You know, Robert.
Well.
So you've got these.
Of course I do. That's what the stupid girls would play with.
Plastic pages, and what you do is you go in the back here, and you find their clothes. Isn't this great?
Well, I'm glad they've all got at least undies or swimsuits or something on.
Oh yeah, they have.
That would be scandalous.
Their necessities here on already.
Yes.
And it's a lot of fun. So
now,
I get to pick out their clothes and their accessories and everything, and I'm like, this is the best.
100 years ago, this would have been especially scandalous. And let's get to that. After the bookstore, there was a trip to the shopping mall. If you didn't see my Facebook post with the subject line, Checkmate Dystopians, you've got to see that. Pictures of the Somerset Collection, which is a multiplex shopping mall in southeast Michigan. I love it because half the mall is on the north side of the street, half the mall is on the south side.
Yes.
And it's interesting because the usual shopping malls that we go to, I think of just as normal shopping malls. This is a luxury shopping mall.
It's really beautiful. It's very well designed. You can actually, they have a skywalk that you walk on, and basically it's constructed over this really large street.
Yeah, it's a big divided highway road, Big Beaver Road. Man, we're going to keep getting into the double entendres, which is good because that's where we're going. And so it's a half-mile walk from one mall to the other. Well, maybe a quarter mile. And it's a luxury mall. So the first store, if you want to call it a store that we go into, is Tiffany & Company. And it is as much a museum as it is a store.
Yeah, the Tiffany Collection. So you go into this part of the mall. It's right there. You can't miss it. It's really very beautiful. You walk into it, and the lighting. I mean, I was just marveling at the whole production. So instead of like a K Jewelers, you go in, you've got a counter, you've got the salespeople behind the counter, and you do not go behind the counter. There are no counters to go behind. So it's laid out in a museum-like, like in cases that are, horizontal, making up a square kind of thing. And they're just separate cases for each sort of collection. So it's really well done. All the way in the back are these enormous diamond engagement rings. And then you kind of keep going up into the front, and you have all of their several different kinds of designs, all very advanced jewelry design. And what I mean by that is that there are several different clasps, the locking,
the hinges
you've got your
are amazing.
Usual lobster clasp here or whatever. No. These are specific little locks that you press the little part of the bracelet, and then it opens up and twists, and then it twists in a way that is really elegant.
And the fit and finish is unbelievable. If you've got a bracelet that's hinged, as soon as you close the bracelet on your wrist, you can't see where it was hinged. It looks like a solid piece of metal.
Yes.
And it's fun because there are four salespeople or curators, whatever you want to call them. And this one gal comes to help Amy out.
Yeah, very lovely woman.
And so she's showing us these bracelets. Amy found this bracelet. It was really stunning. And the first bracelet she showed us, I think we asked about the price, and that was $19. And then this really beautiful one is kind of a double bracelet, half split, half. You'd have to see it. And this amazing
knot twist on it that are this encrusted with diamonds.
And at first, when she said the price, I didn't quite hear her, so I looked at the price tag because I think she said $28,500. And I look at the price tag, and sure enough, it's $28,500 for this bracelet that Amy's wearing on her wrist.
Yes.
I thought we'll probably not take that one home today. Maybe we should have, but
and I
didn't have my loan officer with me at the time.
I really appreciated the sales lady because she was, I was talking to her. I go in there. I'm in marketing, and so I'm looking at the beautiful lights. So everything is just shining and sparkling, and so just in the best light possible. And I'm a little bit sheepish about trying anything on, but she just kind of does the kindly brontosaurus with me and leans in, and she just starts opening the drawer, and each time she has to open a drawer, she has a little card, a little badge that will beep on the drawer, and then it'll open. So she keeps doing this, and she gets me kind of comfortable with that idea. And I was looking in the drawers, and And it was just really lovely because she was very forthright about having me try it on. And I got to try on this $29,000 bracelet for about a minute, but it was just very enjoyable and lovely. I actually tried on a few other things.
Yeah, she was in no hurry with us, and she was very happy to show us everything.
And I was talking to her, about the marketing of the place, the design, the layout, the fact that it was laid out as a museum, kind of a museum sort of style. And I just love talking to her about that. I talked to her about the history. I talked to her about, breakfast at Tiffany's, and, you have to reserve in New York, breakfast at Tiffany's. They're like you have to give it at least a month for, reservations.
And of course they had photographs from Audrey Hepburn, a letter from Audrey Hepburn talking about the breakfast at Tiffany's experience. Of course, the movie, her breakfast at Tiffany's was bringing a croissant to the store and eating it out in front. But letter from Audrey Hepburn, super charming. Look at the photographs on Facebook, facebook.com/Robert Nasir, and you'll see it's very sparse in the sense that it's not cluttered at all. Very large store and a limit to how many things are in there. Just beautiful. And Amy definitely got the treatment that she deserved.
Yes.
The fact that Amy was not buying on that particular day did not change the customer service experience at all.
Right. And, in the past, I would have been a little bit more reluctant to talk to any salespeople. But the lady was very, very pleasant. It wasn't pushy. She was just matter of fact. I think she kind of approached her role as more of a docent or a presenter in a museum.
Yeah, and she was happy we were there. It was not busy. When we walked in, there was one other person in this very large store. And so, she was happy to help out.
Right. To give us a tour.
And that's as it should be. So we went to Tiffany & Company. We went to other stores within the mall. We had a very charming experience, similar experience at Swarovski Crystals.
Yes. Where I have my, this is the trademark Swarovski swan earrings. All basically Gesundheit.
How do people suppress sneezes during the show? I rarely sneeze, so
they don't.
The question hasn't come up before.
This is just like the eclipse. This is a very rare time.
It's going to happen when it's going to happen, and you just have to ride it, go with it.
So anyway, I love these earrings. I just don't want it to ever take them off, and they sparkle better than diamonds. Now, obviously cut crystal or glass is not going to be as durable as diamonds, but they sparkle.
They do have a hell of a sparkle. Get them under the right light and they just explode. Christopher Smith says, nice, get me some whiskey glasses. I'm sure anything from Swarovski or Tiffany would have been just right for taking down a few shots. Absolutely.
Yeah, so Robin, the eclipse is going to be tomorrow. Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Time, is around 3 o'clock.
Yes. And Jim Ashley says, Beaver Road, to which Greg clarifies, Big Beaver Road, Greg Lewis, who knows because he lives in the neighborhood. And Big Beaver Road changes its name like some mile roads do. It's actually 16-mile road, but depending on where you are, it's also Quarton Road.
Or Metro Parkway.
That one road changes its name lots. We do that in southeast Michigan. 8-Mile Road is Baseline Road, and different roads have different names depending on where you. I think the cities get haughty. Well, we're not going to call it what they call it. So yes, Big Beaver Road. Now that takes us to. Well, let's see. Well, wait. After the mall, we had one more stop. Oh, that was Dave and Buster's. We already mentioned that. And then came back and did karaoke at home. Photographs from that are online as well. And the next day we had a pleasant time. And then you got it in your mind. Well, let's go to the movies.
Right. Yeah, I should just say I want to give out a shout out to Echo, Mark, and Diana for a lovely birthday morning, or after birthday morning. And it was great.
Breakfast with family.
That was lovely.
People say, Robert, why do you still live in Michigan? You're obviously a man of the world and a man of means. Why are you guys still living where you grew up? And the biggest part of the answer is friends and family.
Yeah.
It's just, we have aspirations to eventually move, maybe to New Orleans, maybe somewhere else. The hardest part is going to be leaving the people who are important to us. So a huge shout out, yes, to Mark and Echo and Diana. It was a good birthday breakfast. Yeah. Some of you have seen the Studio Nasir sign, the custom sign that Mark had designed. He actually gifted me that yesterday morning at breakfast.
Right. But before that, actually, the karaoke I was able to sing a song that I've never sang before with karaoke. Thank you to Apple Music. They have the we were actually able, Robert was able to configure a way to basically hook up the I think your iPhone with Apple Music to make it do karaoke for a particular song.
Some folks who've got the newer Apple iPhones, I think it had to be a 13 or higher. Apple introduced Apple Music Sing, which is it's essentially what you would karaoke to.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's real quick for folks who know karaoke. When you go to a karaoke bar or you do karaoke at home or you use a music service, we use Kara Fun. They have recorded, and they're all re-recorded. Songs are re-recorded. And a lot of times people are like, it's not like the original. Well, it's not the original. They re-record the song and they leave the lead vocals out. And sometimes they'll add in background vocals and you sing along to it. Well, Apple, using now the phones are so powerful, the artificial intelligence algorithms are so powerful, that now what they will do is on their phones, you can bring up, just on their music app, like you would play a song. And you can tell the music app, now cut out all the vocals. And so you've got the original music, not the remake that you get from a karaoke service or a karaoke disc. You got the original song with the music, with the vocals removed. The system is able to figure out, well, this part's the vocals. And you can even lower them. You can have some of the original vocals left in. Amazing stuff. Apple Music Sing. If you've got an iPhone, maybe there's a version of this out there for Android phones. I'd be surprised, but let me know in the chat if I'm wrong about that. Too cool, because one of the things about karaoke services is
you don't get any obscure songs.
You don't get obscure stuff. Because if the karaoke service is going to have a rock band come in and re-record a song as close as possible to the original, that costs money and time and effort. And so, if they don't think anybody out there,
they want to offer
is ever going to
value.
sing that song, it makes no sense. It makes no sense to do a karaoke version of some really obscure song that only 10 people on earth are ever going to try to karaoke.
They have to cater to the masses.
But if you can do it through artificial intelligence, and I guess it takes a little bit of tweaking or input, because there are some songs you still can't do this to.
Right.
But most of the stuff on Apple Music, it's just great. Obscure stuff. Your favorite song that nobody else likes, you can now sing along. And we said before, and we'll say it again, you should be singing, all of you out there. What are you talking about? I'm a practical guy. I don't sing. Or I have a terrible voice. I'm just not a singer. No. All of you people should be singing and singing often. Apple Music Sing makes that possible. Amy, what did you sing that you would never have imagined would be available as a karaoke track?
I had two very favorite bands, but both obscure when I was a teenager. No Means No.
No Means No.
Who we've talked about on the show.
All one word, no spaces. No Means No.
And again, the same idea here is Tuxedo Moon. All one word, no spaces.
Tuxedo Moon.
So all one word, no spaces. I should do that with my name. No.
I did that with my email address. That's why some of the characters are missing.
Right. So, but anyway, there was this a song by Tuxedo Moon that, and now I'm forgetting the name of it. And ironically, the main lyric of the song is "Give me the words." It's called "In a Manner of Speaking."
In a Manner of Speaking.
It's not something that I would ever expect anybody else to like. Look up Tuxedo Moon in a Manner of Speaking. But it's, gosh, it was a very poignant song for me growing up. Somebody who was trying to find the words that were meaningful, that could describe life, the world, human behavior, all of that. And I discovered Ayn Rand when I was 16, and thankfully I did, because I was heading down a pretty bleak existentialist road. And Tuxedo Moon was a part of that, or a part of the transition. And I would call them an experimental avant-garde new wave band. That's kind of what they are. But they're just so strange
Greg
and
Lewis
wonderful.
says Tuxedo Moon was pretty neat, so apparently he has heard of them.
Oh, well, wonderful.
And presumably heard them
Fantastic. Ah.
So yeah, if you've got any obscure songs and you've always thought, yeah, I can't karaoke, go to a karaoke bar, they're not going to have that. But if you do this at home, in your car, if you've got a phone that can do this, it's pretty damn cool. Oh wait, I said damn. I don't usually use profanity on the show, but as I said, we decided to go to the movies. Well, speaking of profanity, do you think fast food workers are underpaid? Stephen Katz has just come into the chat, and he's asking a question he's been talking about on the internets. Do you think fast food workers are underpaid? Well, it doesn't really fit our theme today, but the answer to your question is no, I don't think fast food workers are underpaid.
Yeah, they're not. You shouldn't have a career as a fast food worker unless you want to get into management. But that's another thing.
The question doesn't actually mean what most people mean when they ask it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is underpaid.
Right.
Unless your boss is literally cheating you, not giving you what you contracted for, not giving you the pay that he... Nobody is underpaid. Now, at the same time, anybody who ever took a fast food job to feed their family, yeah, they're underpaid because they chose a job in which they're not going to make much money. So,
yeah,
it's a whole discussion. The short answer is nobody, unless they're literally being, what's the word?
Coerced, forced,
embezzled. Nobody is underpaid.
Trafficked.
And in a certain sense, almost everybody is underpaid because all of us should be out there actually doing more for our salaries to increase our salaries than we do. Most people aren't as ambitious as they could be. They aren't as selfish as they should be.
Right.
But at the same time, yeah, if you agreed to it, that's what you're getting paid. And now, Amy, you're exactly right. Nobody should be doing a fast food line worker's job.
Or expecting to have that as a career, as a line worker's job.
Now, my first job was doing exactly that. I came up in fast food. I told the story. My first job, I made $3.10 an hour. I think I came in at $3.05. Maybe it was $3.10, or I got a raise in the first week. It was amazing because minimum wage was $2.85 at the time.
Wow.
So I'm like, man, they really want me.
Yes.
And that was a Taco Plaza, which was a Taco Bell kind of restaurant. And yeah, I was an hourly employee. I was crew, you know what they call crew. Eventually, I was a crew supervisor, and then I was a assistant manager, and then I was a store manager. And by the time I was a store manager, I was making the big money. After 5 years, I was making, I think, $4.25 an hour. Running the restaurant.
Wow.
And that put me in a position to make a lateral shift to go work for Hardee's as an assistant manager, making buku bucks. Well, people would laugh at what it was, but I was a salaried assistant manager, and then I became a store manager, and then I went into IT, and the point is, every position was a stepping stone to the next one. I even left a job making a salary to go work hourly for $11 an hour at a cash register company doing electronics board work.
Right.
So I cut my salary 33%.
I think this whole issue would be clarified so much easier if people today were actually taught in schools what individual rights are. The fact that the whole American experiment was unprecedented in human history, and that nobody is expected or being forced into slavery, serfdom, indentured servitude, any of that. And that your life belongs to yourself, and all of these concepts from coming out of the Enlightenment, if they could understand that, if they could have that context, they'd be like, wait a minute. It's wonderful that there are fast food jobs out there that are offering only minimum wage. It gives me an easy in at a job, so I can make some money, and I could actually add on to that for a second job, or have it even a third minimum wage job, which I had when I was, I think, 18 or 19. I was working 3 minimum wage jobs, and I loved it. I loved it. It was really hard work. Didn't get a lot of sleep. I had a midnight job even, and it was great. And it just opened up my world. It opened up my eyes. It gave me exposure to other people, to work with other people, to learn new skills, to learn about business. And so I'm totally in favor of minimum wage fast food jobs.
Now, trigger warning. I'm going to do something that I don't do. And so I'm going to give trigger warning.
Okay.
The trigger warning is profanity, language.
Oh.
There will be harsh language for the remainder of the program, or at least for the next few minutes. If you are sensitive to profanity, including the 7 words that you can't say on television, although you can say them all over the internet, you might reconsider listening to the remainder of the program. Because...
Virgin ears.
I'll explain why I'm taking this radical step. I've always said you shouldn't use profanity in polite company. Profanity should be reserved for the battlefield and the bedroom. But there are reasons why we may consider this part of the battlefield. The real problem with minimum wage...
Yes.
The real problem with the minimum wage is it too high, is it too low? The real problem is that it fucking exists.
Oh, that's true.
And I will defend that to my fucking grave. And Stephen Katz goes on to say, why do you think companies sell franchises? What benefits do franchises provide the franchisor? It's just, put it this way. Suppose I want to sell hamburgers. I've got this idea. I could run a fast food restaurant or a burger joint better than most people do, and that's what I want to do. So I'm going to start Robert's Hamburgers. Would you go buy Robert's Maybe you would. Maybe it's a new joint, Robert's Hamburgers. Maybe I'll try that. But suppose I had no experience, no idea what I'm doing. I had a lot of money. I got $50,000 I can invest in a franchise and $150,000 to build the restaurant. Well, if instead I go to McDonald's or go someplace a little bit fancier than McDonald's and say, yeah, I want to run one of your restaurants. I want to sell your product using my work, my labor, my capital, my employees. And I do that. And I give McDonald's 10% of all the profits and buy all of my product supplies from them. And actually, they get involved in the real estate deal too. So they've got a lot of income streams from this. But I make money because I've got golden arches out in front of my restaurant. I've got an inn. I've got something people already want. I don't need to try to sell Robert's Hamburgers. I can sell McDonald's hamburgers. Some people want to do that. That's how they want to do business. They want the sure thing. That's why franchises work. There are great businesses out there, and you can own a piece of it by buying the franchise rights and running one of their joints. And that's why people do that. What's with the profanity? Well, this is a topic that deserves some profanity, but also, we went to the movies, and we saw a film called Wicked Little Letters.
Yes.
Okay, go back to post-World War I. England. People don't remember what things were like in the 1920s. We talk about the jazz age and flappers, and people were coming out and having a good time and doing all sorts of risque things as if, that was really, the beginning of the sexual revolution, and people weren't as uptight anymore, and people could now do exciting and interesting things. Well, maybe in some parts of New York City they could, but in a small town in England, in Britain, things like illegitimacy. Mm-hmm. Just saying that word sounds fucking disgusting. Illegitimacy. You had a child that was born out of wedlock. There's something wrong with that child, and there's something wrong with that mother, and it's an outrage, a moral outrage. Okay, this film, Wicked Little Letters, takes place in the 1920s, small town in England. And the basic plot of the film is there's this very conservative family living in a row. The houses are all together.
Yes, you had
a string of houses.
Two older mother and father with their spinster daughter.
So yes, an elderly couple and the spinster daughter, middle-aged daughter, and they're living very devout lives. They're part of the church organization, and they're very critical of some of the neighbors. And a neighbor moves in with her daughter and her husband. And it's a mixed race couple, so right there, there's going to be some raised eyebrows. And the little girl is a little wild. The husband has a guitar, an acoustic guitar, and the little girl wants to play it, and that's really not an appropriate activity for a young girl. But worst of all, the mother punctuates just about everything she says with some fucking obscenities, bad words, bad language. That shit's unacceptable.
I know, they're all waiting for me to say fucking and shit.
If you go to see this movie, the movie is rated R. Rated R.
It's not really rated R, though.
And there's nothing... I mean, there's one scene where one of the characters moons the police, actually.
Yes.
I'm trying to avoid spoilers because you should see this film.
It's really good.
Other than that quick flash of somebody's derriere, the only reason this film is rated R is because of the fucking language.
Right.
Well, it is outrageous, the amount of crude language.
Yes.
But it's also extremely comical because most of it is badly used. It's just dumb, bad language.
It's a very funny movie. Highly recommend it. It has a lot of, I would say this, that I think thematically and in terms of the characters, there's a lot of overlap with Chocolat, if you like that movie.
So, we just had Easter, and we've recommended Chocolat as an Easter film.
Yes.
Well, in the 1920s, there's a serious part of this, and it overlaps with the serious parts of Chocolat. Because in the 1920s in England, and this went on for years and years, depending on where you're from, where you're at, a woman of questionable morals, raising a daughter in a questionable relationship, there's some question of, well, the daughter, she doesn't look like a mixed-race girl. Well, it's because the woman's previous husband had been killed in the war. The neighbors would have issues, and in particular, this church-going trio, the mother, the father, and the middle-aged daughter. Very judgmental, very harsh. And at some point, somebody in the neighborhood starts sending letters, in particular to the one spinster character, Edith. And they're full of bad language and really cruel insults. And the assumption, of course, is that this is the neighbor woman sending these insulting letters as a way to get back at her for her judgmentalism and eventually for the way in which she actually gets the mother in trouble. And there's a point in the film at which the letters start getting sent to other people, more widespread. And again, it's all assumed that it's the bad mother doing this. And it just made me think, well, in the 1920s, in small towns, and not just in England, in the United States, this is the kind of stuff that could happen. And the police would be on the side of the spinster, the church-going people, the people who aren't trying to destroy the neighborhood. And it was just the 19-teens in which women's suffrage finally came to a head in the States. Before that, women didn't have the right to vote. And even after that, women were second-class citizens in ways that weren't just rude, but actually affected their ability to live freely, to keep their fucking children in their lives. There are elements in this film that are enormously tragic, and fortunately they keep it light. But the more you think about it afterwards, you're like, Jesus Christ, what we have been through.
Right.
What we have come out of.
It's, as I was a presenter at Greenfield Village, not as a first person, but third person, just regular person talking about, what you see around you and giving a tour. Even then, I would never want to live a life back in the 17 or 1800s, let alone even, 70 years ago.
It wasn't just that you didn't have the right to vote. You didn't have the rights to so many things.
Yeah, it was.
And your husbands could treat you like garbage.
Yeah.
And short of the kind of violence that would put you in the hospital with broken bones and you could actually point to, that was his right.
Right. And there was.
There are still places in the world right now where spousal rape is not a crime.
Right.
Where you can literally do anything you want to your wife.
Yeah.
And there's no crime if as long as she lives through the experience.
Ugh. So horrible.
But it was just interesting to see, life in the 1920s.
There's a heroic character who is sort of on the sidelines in Wicked Little Letters. I may have been saying Dirty Little Letters, but Wicked Little Letters is what the movie's called. And I think about her. And she's just such an inspiration.
Yes.
And
this film is characterized as a comedy. And it is. There's a lot of very funny stuff in it.
Right.
But it's also pretty damn serious. And incidentally, it's based on an actual story. This actually happened. Post-World War I, England. Littlehurst, I forget the name of the town. But there's a reason why that matches the title. Little
Hampton, Sussex.
Little Hampton. So part of the reason why they say Wicked Little Letters, because eventually the letters are sent all over town.
And one other thing I just want to say is that not only is this reminiscent of Chocolat,
yes,
but the characters in it, or I should say the level of evil in some of the characters, are very much reminiscent of Ellsworth, Toohey, and Peter Keating.
Yes.
And I won't give any spoilers or correlate here, but oh my God! I mean, it was, oh my gosh, the kind of not just second-handedness, but the kind of thing where a person is such an empty vessel that they turn to an authority figure for some kind of attention, and in doing so, they commit the most heinous acts, and it's such an interesting, and I'll just say this, that there was some satisfaction in the movie. I wouldn't necessarily call it redemption, but satisfaction in the movie, that Peter and Katie did not get to have with Ellsworth. I'll just say it that way.
We've talked about redemption stories. We've talked about forgiveness. We've given all the usual warnings about forgiveness. Don't forgive people when it's not due, when it's not earned, when they haven't changed. But the interesting thing about this film, one of the common denominators was Chocolat. And a common denominator with the book I mentioned the other day I was reading, Great Expectations, which incidentally I finished. And so those of you who will know the story, particularly the story of Pip and Miss Haversham, it's interesting that forgiveness in art and in literature is ennobling. And I'm slowly cracking the code. I'm slowly coming to terms with coming to understand that. And it's not altruism, or at least when it's good, it's not altruism. It's more a matter of the generosity of spirit that the strong and able have over the weak. You'll see an element of that when you go to see Wicked Little Letters. And it's interesting to see how that comes up repeatedly, and sometimes it's very ennobling. But it does highlight the strength that comes from not forgiving people, the strength that comes from being virtuous, being morally upright, being strong. Those are the people who can afford to extend forgiveness, who can afford to be charitable. And you can see when that goes well, even when it's over-generous, and you might argue it wasn't really earned. And you can see when it goes badly, in cases where it was over-generous and definitely was not earned and not warranted. And it's an important theme, and it's something that I'll be exploring more as I go through my catching up on the great literature. But it was interesting to see that theme in this film, that theme in the film Chocolat, that theme in this book, Great Expectations, Charles Dickens there. Which, incidentally, I do recommend, even though the ending was a little more mixed than I would have hoped. But you know me, I like my Hollywood endings. And this one left you hanging a bit. wondering, or maybe you can fill in your own blanks, I guess. Great book. Well worth the read. As I mentioned before, you can listen to a very good version on LibriVox, free audiobooks. Use version number 2. There are 3 people who've actually read the book and posted it. Version 2 is the one you want. Somebody with a proper British accent.
Yes.
It's interesting to listen to people with really boring American accents read British literature. Sometimes they're okay, but if you can find it read by a good Brit, that's what you want. Folks, it's Amy's birthday weekend.
Woo!
We even thought about skipping the show altogether, but the chance to chat with you, see you in the chat, share some of these, especially film recommendations, always love that, and to get them from you was irresistible. So thank you. Thank you for joining us for Amy's birthday weekend. You can still wish her a happy birthday in the chat, and you can do it in the socials too, Facebook.
And for those who have wished me a happy birthday, I want to kind of extend a little gift to you.
What's that?
There's 2 YouTube channels I've been watching a lot of. They're not related to objectivism. One is about language, and there was one that I posted on both of these. I posted on my wall recently on Facebook. So a channel called Rob Words, ROB Words, all one word.
That's somebody named Rob talking about language?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and the one particular one that I said I posted is English just badly pronounced French.
Well.
Anyway, it is great. It covers so much of so many things that I've found hard to understand, and as to why words in the English language are similar to French in a lot of ways. It's a great, wonderful thing, and his other offerings on videos are very good too. And there's also another one if you like zoology or biology or animals or dinosaurs especially. There's a guy named Clint at Clint's Reptiles. That's the
Clint's Reptiles.
Clint's Reptiles. Really funny, entertaining man talking very specifically and scientifically about all sorts of things, from dinosaurs to rabbits to what kind of pets are a little bit more feasible than other pets.
So it sounds like more than just reptiles.
To different kinds of whales. He's a zoologist basically, so he covers all animals, and he's really entertaining and really engaging. And his videos are like 30 minutes long, but he keeps me engaged. So.
And you've shared both of these on your Facebook wall.
Yeah, Clint's Reptiles and Rob Words. So learn a little bit about language and zoology.
So real quick, getting near the top of the hour, 4 things before we go. Number 1, happy birthday to you, to Kayla. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kayla. Happy birthday to you.
Kayla.
Your birthday came right after Amy's, and it means we probably shortchanged you in the birthday wishes. So everybody in the chat say happy birthday to Kayla.
Yes.
Because you deserve that. Mark and Kayla, you're the best.
Yes.
Number 2, the eclipse is tomorrow. Make sure you got eye protection for that, but see it. Watch it. Yes. It's going to be cool. If you're not near the line of totality, okay, you'll get the partial eclipse experience. That's what we got last time there was one. We watched it. I was actually at work, and I had the Amazon cheapy solar eclipse eyeglasses, and it was cool. But yeah, we're actually going to travel. We're going to drive down to the line of totality and check it out. I hope you all enjoy that. Number 3, my Post-it note for the week I already shared with you is touch everything. And the reason is I want you to get a little more out of everything. And it doesn't have to literally be touch, but change your modalities. I'm noticing that I'm used to stuff. Tunnel vision, you've seen it before, you've seen it again. You don't really see anything, but if you could hear it instead, if you could feel it instead, try touching it. Well, don't touch everything, especially if your hands aren't clean. But maybe, touch everything. And I won't say taste everything, because that'll get us back into the profanity, but change your modalities. Use different senses. Take advantage. Put up a Post-it note that just reminds you to look at stuff twice, or literally touch it. Touch everything. And that gets me to number 4, and the final thing I want to say.
Well, yeah.
When I talk about the 1920s, when I talk about the 1960s, when I talk about the riots, when I talk about the 70s, when I talk about, you don't know what inflation is unless you lived in the 1970s. What we've got now ain't nothing. When I talk about how much worse things used to be, it's only to make the point by contrast that as many challenges we've got and as many things as need to be fought, man, we live in amazing times. We live in wonderful times. Women not just have the right to vote, they have the right to stand up for themselves. And not just women. Racism is less than it ever has been. Sexism is less than it has ever been. Anti-gay or homosexual friends have it better than they ever have. Now, in all three of these areas, there's still a few challenges out there. I'm not saying everything is perfect. But compared to the 1920s, compared to the world that we watched in this charming film that you should go out and see, compared to then,
yes,
we are living in amazing times. And I hope you experience that. I hope you feel that. I hope you know that when you look at the world, and instead of feeling dystopian, you look at my post on Somerset Collection, on that shopping mall, on Tiffany and Company, and say, man, what a great world. What a great life. What great things I get to do with my time on Earth.
It is, I mean, the elegance, the industriousness, the creativity, the outpouring of the products of the human mind are just all around you. And go someplace beautiful. Go to that luxury mall around where you live. Hopefully you have one. It just go there and see it. Go there, just see what all the variety of human activity just displayed out in front of you. It's just wonderful. It's and I want to give a shout out to Linda Cordair.
Is Linda Cordair in the house?
Yes, she is.
Quent Cordair has been posting some screenshots, some excerpts from his collection, My Kingdom.
Yes.
If you don't have a copy of My Kingdom from Quent Cordair, you can find it on Amazon.com. Of course, you can find his art at cordair.com.
That is right. Yes.
Both highly recommended.
And speaking about changing your modality, go to cordair.com, look at all of the art, and be inspired by it. It's just wonderful.
Yes.
And buy something, or
buy stuff,
or join Club Cordair, which is kind of a way to build up some funds for an artwork that you are aspiring to own, and own that artwork.
Yes.
Or own that those Swarovski crystals.
Don't you deserve the best? If anybody deserves the best, don't you? And the answer, of course, is
yes.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, you'll never hear that kind of language on this show ever again until the next time that you do. But irresistible. You've got to see that movie, Wicked Little Letters. Oh, one more thing before we go.
Yes.
Amy won't be on the show next week.
Oh, right.
So Amy has another obligation. I will probably do the show anyway. I may be looking for a substitute co-host. The possibility that we might be able to call on Matthew for that. The barrister in the UK. There's a possibility also of Mark, the pianist. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yes, next week promises to be maybe not as good, but interesting while Amy is doing her bridesmaidy duties.
Yes, I am a bridesmaid.
For the same reason that we won't be at Ocon this year. Sorry about that, ARI, but...
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll let you know. We'll let you know what's up. Either way, it's going to be interesting. You should be there. And that's it. That's all we got. Thanks for joining us. Happy birthday to Amy. Yes.
Thank you. You all have the best fucking day ever.
I can't follow that up with the usual spiel, so I will just say, have an outstanding week. We wish you all the success that you so richly deserve. We wish you happiness. We wish you flourishing. We wish you a sexy-ass week. And as always,